Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world.
Time! Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU America. They got a football team now.
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
How about Ryan Carr being added to, speaking of the Pacers, Mr. Pacers beat writer?
Yeah.
Indiana adds Ryan Carr as their quote unquote GM. That's not his exact title, but whatever. It's what he is.
Sure.
And there is not he might be the most important piece that has been added to this team, period.
Sure.
Because right now, what they're going through, they're a team that does not have the personnel. It's pure and simple. You've got some great guys, and they're playing Michigan State, this close.
Mhm.
But this close is not enough. And
Right.
this close difference was, you can look at, they got outscored bench points 22-0.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
got nobody coming off the bench, and hell, you got three starters that totaled 15 points, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, this was remarkable. I mean, I obviously the game was going on yesterday as the Pacers were getting ready to play the Grizzlies, and obviously my attention had to be wrapped on that. But I mean, like everything I'm seeing in this box score is sort of like deeply concerning. I mean, like after Wilkerson and DeVries, you've got 5 field goals. Sam Alexis has 3.
In the second half, Dustin, nobody scored a field goal besides those two in the entire second half. And only 1 point, a free throw from Sam Alexis, I think.
Sheesh. So that's not good.
It's almost impossible.
It's hard to do. It really is. It's not.
I mean,
it's not easy
to not have a bunny, a putback, something.
Yeah,
that also goes to show they're not reactive around the rim.
No, they're not. They're not. And like obviously it definitely seems to be like and it always goes back to you end up getting the opposite of what you had last time. And I guess too often that's probably ended up being what what IU has done is just, okay, what do we have last time? Okay, that didn't work. Let's get something very, very different from that. So like DeVries, I think your positives for him and the things that I've even sort of complimented on this show is that, okay, well, you have a strategy, you have a style of play, and it does involve outside shooting in the perimeter and being 5 out basically. And that is the world at the NBA level. So, like now just playing the style doesn't make you the same kind of team. Like you've got to do some other stuff. And one issue that you have when it comes to stuff like that is rebounding the basketball becomes a challenge. And you have to figure out it is at least a riddle, and you have to find an answer for it. Basically, you have to figure out what you're going to do there. And they haven't so much done that. I mean, I was just looking, their offensive rebounding percentage is like per Ken Palm is like 296th. That's not great. So yeah, I mean, you've got to find a way to get your hands on the basketball. I mean, and on the offensive end, being able to get at least some second chance points. I get the idea of leaning into 3-point shooting. There is a value to that. It makes you tough to guard, but if you're not hitting 3-point shots, you have to have at least a pretty high percentage in that case. I mean, you can hit, even if you're hitting 10, 12, 15 threes a game, that's not going to cut it. I mean, they're 10 of 35. It's nice to hit you 10 threes. That's not nothing. That's 30 points worth of production, but you're going to need more than that if you can't rebound. So Yeah, it's not great. So but to go back to you mentioned Ryan Carr. So what's the point? Like where are we getting at with this? I mean, Ryan was really in charge of draft stuff. I mean, that was Ryan's focus with the Pacers. So every year, like our conversation with, we got one conversation with Ryan every year, one kind of public conversation was after they were done with all of their open draft stuff. And you always got a sense that he was really sharp in understanding what was out there as far as college talent. And what I think stands out of like, what's your high point? What's the point of hiring this guy? I think it's what he's done for the Pacers in later rounds. It's being able to find guys that, the Pacers have a history of misses when it comes to their first round draft picks. And so he has to carry some blame with that, but that's also, comes down to kind of your final decision making. I mean, like Ryan, his job is really to kind of present the options in the menu and say, okay, well, if you want this, you have this. And if you want that, you have that. These are the guys that are available. And it's ultimately Kevin Pritchard's decision, and Chad Buchanan's and, and more to extent now Ted Wu's, but really Pritchard's decision on, okay, who are you actually going to take here? And they've had some big misses, TJ Leaf and stuff like that. But the last couple of years, they've really turned their second round picks into useful players. You're looking at, Cam Jones has showed up pretty good since he's got some playing time recently. The season's gone in the direction it's going. Johnny Furphy, I think, has turned out to be a bit of a steal at that spot, even though he's out for a while with the ACL tear. Andrew Nemhard was an absolute find as the first pick of the second round back in 2022. Ben Shepherd is a late first round guy, has been really good. So they've turned those picks into some really useful players and, showed just the ability to, if you really get the draft the whole way down, you can get some talent later on and turn that into stuff. So, so that shows that, okay, Carr's going to come in there with the ability to really identify talent, identify guys that you like, have a better sense of what you should pay for it. What you should be willing to spend your money on from an NIL standpoint. Obviously he's going to have to get used to the numbers in terms of what, what value looks like at the college level versus what it is at the NBA level when it's kind of locked in as far as the draft is concerned. I mean, those salaries are really slotted on an even more rigid level than, say in baseball where you have a slot, but, you can pay, you can pay above that, you can pay below that, but that's just kind of what you have for your whole pool. In the NBA, it's like, okay, if you pick the guy first, well, this is what he gets, but it's all about allocating resources. And I think Ryan's going to have a good sense of how to do that and know what it is that you want. And I think that is really important in terms of building a roster and DeVries might look at the Pacers style of play and say, hey, that's what I want to do actually, because he is a 5-out guy and he probably looks at their pacing, their shooting, like all of that stuff and say, okay, that looks like a nice model for me. How do I build that? What's that look like in terms of looking at, college talent, looking at transfers, looking at high school kids, how do I do this? And, I feel like Ryan Carr is about as good as that you can come up with as somebody who's going to be able to get how to connect those dots.
Yeah, well, this team needs that, and especially not just because of how they're playing right now, but going forward, they're going to lose about 8 guys minimum, and that's that's just seniors. That is not touching anyone who could potentially hit the portal, but that gives a Ryan Carr a broad canvas to work on.
Sure.
And having done this, he's already used to looking at college guys. He knows. And so that's going to be a huge benefit. But Indiana they've got to hit a home run next year. I've laid off of them this year. I'm saying, hey, I understand. But now they've got everything they need for next season. Going into it, prepared. The staff is together. You know what you need. You're going to know everything. You're going to it's not coming into this late. So they get the chance to do what they need to do next season. And having a guy like Ryan Carr is of uber importance because they weren't able to put a great roster together. They have some great talent. Lamar Wilkerson, obviously,
sure.
That dude. I mean, he's going to be an All-American. I would think. He's certainly trending in that way. But
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.